Brain Fuel with Barbara Brett. Oh, good morning. I am just so glad to be with you. I just got back from Africa for 9 days. And what we're going to talk about today is some of the experiences that I received in Africa. And I'd like to give you some insight on it and to see if you want to come along on that journey with me and build intentional curiosity. Again, Barbara Brett, I'm a culture strategist. It is my privilege to go into companies and organizations and get to build the culture of their business so that everybody is seen, heard, understood, and is able to add value to their company. So again, I'm on live Brain Fuel with Barbara Brett. And so I hope you all have a big glass of water while you're listening to me or you're riding down the road. And I hope that you take an opportunity to drink as often as possible to stay hydrated and feed that brain. So we're going to talk about intentional curiosity. And this is something that I noticed when I was traveling. And I said that before I traveled, I was going to be totally intentional about building relationships, understanding where other people were coming from. Why did the cultures do the different things that they did? And it was the best experience traveling I have ever had, meeting all the wonderful people in Africa. And I was in Tanzania, and I was in the Serengeti, and got to watch the wildebeest going across and doing their big migration. And it was absolutely epic. I learned from the animals how they would get along. It was just very, very intentional, the clarity on how they led, how the lions led, how the elephants led. Some of the very best parents in Africa were the elephants as far as the animal kingdom. You could not beat how they treated and trained and taught their young, how they respected and taught each other. Seeing the zebras and the wildebeest coexist because each one of them had something that the other one needed. How many times are we missing out opportunities to do that because our perceptions, because of our biases that we have? And make no mistake, we all have them. We all have them. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm excited to be on here with you. And we're going to talk about, intentional curiosity. If you are intentionally curious and wanting to know and wanting to understand, then you are going to get the best out of your experiences. Not only that, but others are going to get the best out of the experiences with you as well. So you can't beat that. I mean, that's a win-win. Curiosity is the spark behind the spark of every great idea. So when that idea comes, that curiosity is what can feed it, or the lack of curiosity is what can let it just die down. Oh, not that interested. It's a little too hard to look at. The future belongs to the curious. So I'm going to ask you, are you curious? If not, step out. Just that, I don't care what it's curious about or who it's curious about. Step out and see what life has to offer you. What can happen to you when you let go of perceptions, preperceptions, right? What can happen? And intentionally learn from each other. Well, on the trip that I just got back from with Christian Del Centro, I knew two people. I knew Christian. I met him through John Maxwell and from Paul Martinelli. And he is the main photographer there. And he also does photo shoots for National Geographic. He is the most awesome photographer I've ever met. And he's so willing to teach and train you. And then I knew Susan McCary. And that was the only two people. So there was 12 of us all together. And then we had two guides that drove and stayed with us and taught us the whole entire time. And I found that I was going to just take people as they were. Any preconceptions I had of people, I was going to try to look at myself and stop it and really take the opportunity to learn from them. And I can say that on a whole, I was a lot better than I've ever been before, but not as good as I'm going to get. So I challenge you to do the same thing. What can happen when we let go of preconceptions and intentionally learn from each other? What can happen? Well, I will tell you this. The greatest thing was that everybody there did a different thing. Even Susan and I, who are in John Maxwell and Paul Martinelli, the EL community, she comes from the sales aspect, and I come from purely the trainer and the coaching and speaker aspect. So we come from different, but I got to meet so many different people and cultures, and I got to learn from them. And I observed, and I enjoyed everybody I met, and I learned. So I'm going to challenge you to do that. It says people seldom change. We just don't. Only their masks do. How we cover up to society. We seldom change. Only our mask does. But we can be instrumental in changing our perception. We can be instrumental. So it says people seldom change. Only their masks do. Is only our perception of them and the perception they have of themselves that actually change. And that was by Shannon Alder. And isn't that the truth? So we're in a large control of that. So what are you doing to make that? Go back tomorrow and go into your office a different person. Take that perception out and just try to see people as they actually are and as they're talking to you. Breaking perceptions. We're hardwired to do that. We're hardwired to make snap decisions, including about people we meet. Big time about people we meet. Oh, well, I don't usually like that type, or she's too energetic, or she's not energetic enough, or she smiles too much, or she doesn't smile, or she's too opinionated. And we on this trip had strong personalities. And it was wonderful. I mean, strong personalities, accomplished people. And then we added in that, we had the Maasai tribe that we got to meet. And we had our two drivers that just were born and raised, and they loved their country and loved showing us everything. And their knowledge base was unbelievable. So let's talk about breaking preconceptions. Psychologist David London states that subconscious institutes for processing information. So our intuitions, or what we consider our intuitions, and we go, oh, I don't like that type, or processing information. It's our subconscious. Remember, we've talked about the subconscious before. Sometimes all the time, our subconscious only knows information that's been dumped into it. And from the age of conception all the way up to 6 and can go to 11 years of age, it's what people have dumped into it. It's not even our thoughts. And it's not even always true. In fact, it can be based on a lot of falsehoods, like Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, that type of thing. So we now, as humans, quickly take on social data. What are they wearing? How are they acting? What do they do for a living? So we analyze it very quickly and develop a feeling about someone we just met, all outside of our awareness. Wow. If that doesn't stop you from trying to, we can actually cut off people that we could have learned from, that we would have thoroughly enjoyed, maybe been someone that we stayed friends with or colleagues with for the rest of our lives, all because of our preconceptions, And I found out on this trip that everybody had so much to add, and everybody, came from all different areas, but they were accepting. They all came, I feel like, with the same thought that I did. What can I gain out of Africa? What can I learn? I wasn't coming there to tell or train or teach anybody. It was, what could I learn? The subconscious process is based on reading, a body posture, and facial expressions. Wow. So, you know, that stops so much. That stops so much. It leaves us with a gut feeling whether they are likable, friendly, or trustworthy. And we make it in a split second on very little. We you know, and we turn off listening to them. So maybe there was a cue, time for water. Great. Maybe there was a cue, but we never got it. That they had something interesting that they had done. You know, Roger was, well, everybody I met was unique and different. I cannot, but Roger had done so many jobs throughout his life, his career, and he had absolutely taken his career by the horns and developed it and gone up with it, and was already planning his next career for when he retired. He wasn't planning to retire. He was planning on doing things that he was passionate about, that he wanted to do and experience. And I immediately learned so much from him. When he was given some ultimatums, he just turned and changed in his direction, never doubting his ability to go out and get a job, to move up in the corporate world. I just enjoyed learning from everyone. You know, I look at Earl and I enjoyed tremendously him just letting loose and enjoying every experience, putting himself into every experience. Christian, whose eye was just tremendous. We would look at the same thing, and he would photograph it so differently than I did. He captured the pure essence. You know, there wasn't anybody on that trip that I didn't learn from. Susan O'Carey, you know, taking the effort to challenge me on some of my preconceptions. I mean, you can't get better than that. And then, you know, Mary Ann sitting there and just, you know, the joy and the learning and all the experiences. But every person on that trip brought something to my life. Every single person. You know, so these preconceptions that we have can sometimes be useful. They can say, ooh, need to back up. You know, danger, Will Robinson, danger. But they can also lead us to negative and false assumptions about others. And when that happens, we don't learn, we don't grow, and we possibly could let some of the best experiences pass us by. You know, we can do this, and it's happened to you, and it's happened to me, I'm sure. When we do this, social exclusion, excluding other people for no other reason. How many of you have been excluded? You know, and it's just, and they never got the opportunity to know you. They didn't get to know your heart, your passion. You didn't get to know them. And it can also be, you know, exclusion for social exclusion and racism of all different types, biases about different cultures or types. And I loved it because, you know, Aranda was absolutely, and I slaughter her name every time. It wasn't because I didn't try to learn it. You know, she was a physician, and she was from India and came here, and she was a physician. Absolutely just a wonderful, wonderful person. Her face was full of emotion, full of knowledge and wonder. And she just gave constantly. And so, like I said, there wasn't anybody that I didn't pick up from. But sometimes our preconceptions can land us into those areas of social exclusion, racism, and things that we don't want to be a part of. We don't. So it's not an easy task, but when you let loose with your perceptions and let them go and say, I'm going to meet people, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to ask questions, life gets better. We're more creative and accepting the world, seeing things for what they are rather than what we think they should be. How many of us have this? We think, and we're just upset because it's not like we thought it should be. Well, I can tell you this. I tried really hard not to have preconceptions when I went, but my views and some of the pictures were so blown out of the water. This was the best experience. Actually, the Africa and all the areas we went were some of the cleanest places I had ever been. You didn't go to the restroom out in the bush that it wasn't manned by someone, and it was spotless when you walked in, it was spotless when you walked out. And then taking the opportunity to ask them, and that the pride they took in what they did. So, like I said, I'm going to start this and end this today with just a story. There were 12 of us, and some of us met, and on our trip, and as we went along, because it's a 15-hour flight going. We had an 8-hour layover, then we had another 5-hour flight, and so it was a tremendous long flight, and we were all in different locations on the plane, but we just started listening and talking to each other, asking questions, and just expressing, and it was a wonderful group of accepting people. And when we got there, our guides and our drivers, bless their hearts, they were the best. Karachi was one and Robbie was the other one, and we got put back into different of our big huge safari trucks. They were wonderful. But one thing Christian did, and he was he set up the whole tour, and he ran everything, and it just did a marvelous job, was that he constantly made us change our safari trucks. He made us change our drivers. He made us change with the people that we sat with, even made us change constantly where we sat in the safari truck. So we constantly got to meet and hear and see how people reacted to different situations. It was the best experience. And what it's done is it set me up for now. And I hope that this is something that you'll do. Take away the preconceptions before you go someplace. It's always like this. Go back and say, who do I know that I really don't know? Who do I need to know more? Who do I need to come in contact with? Who do I need to learn from? And when you get that way, dare to ask questions. That's how you get to know someone, so research gives us some ideas of how to do that. And I'm going to give you one that I'm going to leave you with so that you can get started on it today. And I'm looking out my window right now as I'm talking to you, and there is a dolphin out there. In fact, there's 3, 2 big ones and a little one. And the big ones are at the end of the dock, and the little one is coming in eating food. So yeah, if you see me get distracted a little bit, that was it. The first thing, and what I want you to stay with until our next time, is this. Number one thing that research shows that we can break this and keep curious is give people a chance. If you come with a preconcept, I don't like people that are loud or laugh loud. I don't like people that use certain words. I don't like people with, whatever. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Even if you can't help but make a snap judgment, know you're doing it. Know you're doing it. Keep an open mind. Give them time to prove you wrong. Give them time. You're going to be so surprised. You're going to find out there are people that you gravitate and that you love. I can tell you on that trip, it was like that. Every time I sat at the dinner table with someone different, every time I heard and saw so many different things. So give them time to prove you wrong. And then there's just one little test that you can do. Ask a child what they think. Just go up and ask a child what they think about anything. Because children think outside of the box. There's still that small window outside the box because they don't carry those preconceptions until they're just loaded into them, until they're told that that's ugly, it's wrong, stupid, it's all the no's in the world. They don't have the preconceptions of how they should feel, how they should be. Look at a child that smiles with an open mouth. Look at a child that's full of wonder. They will tell you how they see things, honestly. and without filters. And I want you to celebrate that. And not only that, but maybe be that person that doesn't drop in a preconception into that child's mind that later on will keep them from growing and developing into the person they were meant to be. Again, this is Brain Fuel with Barbara Britt. It's been my honor to be with you today. If you like this, please go to my website, Barbara J. Britt. Let me hear from you at gmail.com or go to my website. You can check with me there. I can give you tons of things, but my website is barbarabritt.com. I would love to hear from you. I value you and thank you for the opportunity to get to be with you today.